Ragnar Lothbrok in real life. Ragnar Lothbrok, made popular by the TV series Vikings, does have roots in real historical events and mythology. However, like many characters based on historical figures, his image in the TV series combines elements of a real-life historical character and fiction. Ragnar Lothbrok, also known as Ragnar Leatherpants, was a legendary historical figure. His life is shrouded in many legends and tales, making it difficult to separate fact from fiction. However, there are several historical sources that help us form an idea of who this man may have been and what events may have taken place around him. One of the main sources of information about Ragnar is the Icelandic sagas, written centuries after his supposed existence. These works are a mixture of historical facts and mythological elements, making it difficult to determine exactly what actually happened. However, they do give a general idea of Ragnar's character and deeds. For example, the Saga of Ragnar Lothbrok tells of his origins, youth, and early exploits. The early years of Ragnar Lothbrok are shrouded in mystery and legend, for the exact date of his birth is unknown. It is believed that he was born around the 8th century AD. According to the ancient sagas, Ragnar was the son of Sigurd Ring, the famous Viking leader, and Aslog, the daughter of Sigurd Fafneskilla, the hero of the ancient Scandinavian sagas. Ragnar's childhood was spent in the conditions of the harsh northern lands, where every day was filled with dangers and trials. He grew up in a family known for its valor and fighting prowess. Ragnar's father, Sigurd the Ring, was one of the most respected chieftains of his time, and young Ragnar learned from him the art of war and strategy. Already at an early age, Ragnar showed remarkable physical strength and courage. He quickly learned the skills of weaponry and became a skilled warrior. It was at this time that he earned his famous nickname, Leatherpants. According to legend, his leather pants were made of snake skin and protected him from the bites of poisonous snakes. This nickname symbolized his resilience and invulnerability in battle. From childhood, Ragnar dreamed of great feats and glory. He knew that his destiny was connected with sea voyages and conquest campaigns. So he began to prepare himself to one day become a great leader like his father. As a young man, Ragnar had already established himself as a talented leader and strategist. He attracted the attention of other Vikings with his brave deeds and ability to find a way out of difficult situations. His reputation grew, and soon he became one of the most famous young warriors of his time. Thus began the story of Ragnar Lothbrok, a man who would later become a legend and symbol of the Viking Age. His early years prepared him to become a great warrior and leader whose exploits would be remembered and recounted for generations to come. Ragnar Lothbrok's military campaigns have gone down in history as some of the most colorful and impressive episodes of the Viking Age. Ragnar became famous for his many expeditions to Europe, where he attacked various countries and plundered their wealth. His military prowess and strategic thinking made him a formidable foe to all who stood in his way. One of Ragnar's most famous campaigns was the raid on Paris in 845. In that year, Ragnar led a flotilla of several hundred ships filled with Viking warriors. Their target was the rich trading center, the city of Paris, the capital of the Frankish state. The Vikings knew the city was poorly defended and decided to take advantage. Ragnar's flotilla traveled up the Seine River until it reached the city walls. The French king Charles II the Bald tried to organize resistance, but his efforts were in vain. Paris fell to the Vikings, and the city was brutally sacked. The people of Paris watched as their homes were burned and their possessions looted. Many were destroyed or taken prisoner. Charles II the Bald, realizing that he could not resist the Vikings by force of arms, negotiated. He offered Ragnar a large ransom for leaving the city. The sum amounted to 7,000 pounds of silver, a huge sum of money for those times. Ragnar agreed to the offer and left Paris, taking the rich booty with him. This success made Ragnar a hero among the Vikings, and brought him great respect among his tribesmen. He returned home with untold treasures, which allowed him to strengthen his position and continue his military campaigns. In addition to the Paris campaign, Ragnar participated in other expeditions. One such expedition took him to the shores of England, where he clashed with the local rulers. These clashes often ended in victory for Ragnar, further enhancing his reputation as a great general. His methods of warfare were characterized by cunning and guile. He knew how to exploit the enemy's weaknesses to achieve victory. In addition, Ragnar had exceptional physical stamina and courage, which made him a role model among his warriors. His military successes made him one of the most influential people. He was highly respected not only among the Vikings, but also among his enemies, who feared his name and tried to avoid confrontations with him. Ragnar Lothbrok's family and children played an important role in his life and became an integral part of his legacy. Ragnar had several wives and many children, each of whom left their mark on history. One of Ragnar's most famous consorts was Lagertha, a woman whose bravery and belligerence amazed contemporaries. Lagertha not only supported her husband, but she herself took part in the fighting and even led the army in his absence. Her fortitude and fighting skills made her a true heroine. 3 brothers stood out among Ragnar's sons: Ivar the Boneless, Bjorn the Iron-Skinned, and Hvitserk. Each of them was an outstanding warrior and continued his father's work, becoming a famous commander and leader. Ivar the Boneless, Ragnar's eldest son, received his nickname because of a disease that made his bones brittle. However, this did not stop him from becoming one of the most brutal and successful Viking commanders. He was known for his ruthlessness and strategic thinking, which allowed him to conquer many territories. Bjorn the Ironclad, Ragnar's second son, earned his nickname due to his incredible strength and endurance. He was a skilled warrior and sailor, and his exploits became legendary among the Vikings. Bjorn made many sea voyages and conquered many territories, including the islands of the Mediterranean Sea. Hvitserk, Ragnar's third son, was also an outstanding warrior and leader. He took part in many campaigns with his brothers and father, and his contribution to the family affairs was significant. Hvitserk was known for his wisdom and ability to make the right decisions in critical situations. These 3 brothers continued their father's work and became true heroes of their time. Their feats and achievements have gone down in history and have become part of the Viking cultural heritage. The death of Ragnar Lothbrok is shrouded in many legends and stories, each of which adds drama and mystery. According to one of the most famous versions, Ragnar was taken prisoner by the English King Ella II. This episode is considered one of the most tragic moments in the life of the great leader. King Ella, having learned of Ragnar's capture, decided to punish him severely. He ordered Ragnar to be thrown into a pit full of poisonous snakes. This was to be a slow and agonizing death for the proud chieftain. However, thanks to his leather pants made of snakeskin, Ragnar did not die immediately. His skin protected him from snake bites, giving him the ability to last longer than expected. Even so, Ragnar remained true to himself. Before he died, he sent one last message to his sons, urging them to avenge his end. His last words were a call to action that united his sons and made them swear vengeance. This story has come to symbolize Ragnar's courage and steadfastness. Even at the moment of his end, he thought not of himself, but of the future of his children and people. His passing was the catalyst for subsequent events that led to numerous victories for his sons and strengthened their position in Europe. After Ragnar's destruction, his sons did avenge their father with a number of successful military campaigns against England. Ragnar Lothbrok's children, driven by deep pain and a desire to avenge their father, organized a massive campaign against King Ella II of England. This campaign has gone down in history as one of the most significant events of the Viking Age. The first step towards revenge was the creation of the Great Pagan Army, led by Ivar the Boneless. This army consisted of a multitude of Vikings united by a common goal to invade England and punish King Ella for their father. The army landed on the coast of England and began to methodically take over the territory, moving further and further inland. One of the first significant victories took place at York, where the Vikings defeated the local forces and took control of the city. This event was a turning point in the campaign, showing that Ragnar's children were serious and ready to go all the way for their revenge. The next step was to move south, where the army met serious resistance from King Ella's forces. However, thanks to the strategic genius of Ivar and the fighting prowess of his brothers, the Vikings were able to prevail in most battles. Gradually, they approached the location of King Ella himself. Finally, the moment came when the Viking army approached the town of Stonehampton, where King Ella had taken refuge. Here a decisive battle took place in which the Vikings won the final victory. King Ella was captured and taken to Ragnar's children. Now that the perpetrator of their father's destruction was in their hands, Ragnar's children decided to carry out an act of vengeance that would be remembered by all. They subjected King Ella to a brutal execution known as the Blood Eagle. This ritual consisted of cutting open the victim's back and extracting his ribs to form the wings of an eagle. The victim's lungs were then pulled out through the wounds, mimicking the spread wings of a bird. This act was intended to show the depth of hatred and pain that Ragnar's children felt. The execution of King Ella symbolized the completion of revenge and the assertion of the power of Ragnar's children in England. They not only avenged their father, but also gained control over a large part of the country, which ensured their status as strong and respected leaders. The historical evidence of Ragnar Lothbrok's existence, though limited, still supports the reality of his life. Most of our knowledge of him is based on legends and sagas, but some documents and records of the time contain references to his activities. One of the most important sources is the Anglo-Saxon Chronicle, which is a collection of records of events in England from the 5th century onwards. It mentions the raid on Paris in 845, which is associated with the name of Ragnar. The Chronicle also describes other events related to Viking activity, which suggests that Ragnar really existed and was an active participant in these events. Another important source is Scandinavian sagas, such as the Saga of Ragnar Lothbrok. Although these texts were recorded several centuries after the alleged events, they contain valuable information about Ragnar's life and exploits. In addition, archaeological findings also confirm Viking activity during this period. For example, excavations at sites where famous battles took place show traces of Scandinavian presence. This indirectly confirms that Ragnar and his followers were indeed involved in these events. Thus, although information about Ragnar Lothbrok is based mainly on legends and sagas, historical evidence and archaeological data confirm his existence and participation in important historical events. This makes his figure not only mythological, but also a real historical figure who played a significant role in Viking history.